So we back with another video, back to react, and we got the No Jumper Show live. I ain't even gonna. We're gonna jump right into it. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe.
Oh, I would never.
No, I mean, like, did you think about it after it happened? Like, damn, this is.
No, when I saw the Shade Room posted the video, yeah. I was like, oh, let's just make merch, fuck it.
Listen, I will say this after having watched or rewatched, because the first time I watched the episode that went viral,
you were in the comments like,
yeah,
did he just threaten to kill Yassy? I'm like, Adam, hello.
I'm gonna use the bathroom while you guys do that.
Listen,
I didn't watch it.
I was I was watching it. I don't think that, you know, Gaia or yourself necessarily did amazing at handling the energy that was being thrown at you guys in that initial podcast, but I honestly don't know what I would have done, and I'm very experienced with this. I don't know what I would have done if I was sitting on a podcast and you had OT and AD laughing like actual hyenas, like hysterically laughing at nothing.
And they was laughing like real best friends
like.
laugh.
The show on Wednesday, I think he tried to make it seem like I was like mad that he was enjoying himself. I'm like, no,
Right.
you've enjoyed yourself so many other times here,
Yeah.
and it was heightened, and I get it, the best friend thing, but it's like I'm trying to redirect the conversation. You're still laughing at nothing.
I honestly, like at one point, OT is just going like,
Yes, making noises.
and
yes.
just they're AD's laughing like he's fucking Jerry Seinfeld, and I'm like,
yes,
honestly,
very dense.
when I'm watching it, I'm like kind of like, because I've watched so, like, not just the podcasts I've done, I've watched so many podcasts. I feel like I'm used to every dynamic. I feel like I'm used to what happens. You know, like when the Black China thing happened, like it did not faze me. I knew exactly what to keep doing. It was like, oh, she's pissed off. She's gonna walk out. This has happened to me before. I'm not taken aback by this. It is what it is. They were so, like, they have the kind of friendship that I would like kind of think of like the way that I was with my friends when I was like 13, where you think that each other are so funny.
Facts.
And it's like you don't like. You think that each other are so funny because you've been in so many situations with them and had so many inside jokes that now everything is an inside joke, and somehow just laughing alone is enough to like continue to multiply.
You need people like that in your
I
life.
honestly just don't know what I would have done if I was sitting there, and so I really can't blame you guys for not really knowing what to do in that moment.
No, I was definitely.
That's when you get in on the joke.
Yeah, they were.
Period.
It was a lot.
But
It was a lot. Like.
But you want to know the one thing that I was wondering too? What would that podcast have been like if AD actually went through his 50 photos of them together? Or well, because part of why AD was pissed about how that podcast went left is because he had spent mad time before that podcast gathering videos, allegedly as much as 50 videos.
Him and OT.
I've been told that almost all of the videos were OT dancing in different places around the world.
Yes.
He was finna celebrate the
And that, to
homie.
me, sounds like a weird podcast. Like, I don't really know.
He's trying to start the podcast off
No,
with
no,
that,
he threw
play it
that
in the middle.
like smack dab in the middle,
Yeah,
like with no intro. Really.
AD wanted to be like, check out all these great times that we had together. Here's OT dancing in this gas station.
Which
Here's
is
him
cool.
dancing at this private jet landing area, whatever.
Okay.
I just don't know if that would have been as good of content as AD was thinking that it was going to be. So it turned out that OT arguing with
Little house song getting
female
faded.
co-host actually probably, I think it might have been for the best, but I don't know.
That was
maybe
great.
We should redo that episode where we look at all the videos of OT dancing.
I was gonna say I don't know if I would do. I don't want to pull up 50 pictures of Adam, of me and Adam hanging out.
No, I mean it worked well with the thing because what we initially planned was
It
it was
was like a
going
best-
to
it
be
was
a
a
best
best
friend
thing.
theme, but
Best
we
thing.
had talked about it. Like we had talked about it. I had the Google Doc up. Like I was ready for structure.
What is Gaia normally like?
She was really offended.
Was it the nipple thing?
Yeah, she was very uncomfortable with that. Just because like she really is very tapped out of this whole thing. Like she is.
So
We're
why?
polar opposites. Like
So
polar
why
opposites.
come on to something like
No,
that?
because she thought it was gonna be fun. Like I told you, like we had a structure. It was gonna be like like certain experiences we're gonna talk about. Like we never thought we were gonna talk about like relationship shit or nothing like that. To be
Why
honest, I thought it was dragged out.
It was probably.
People always bring
It was one of the worst matchups of personalities that I could have imagined because I also feel like OT and AD are kind of like, especially when they're drinking, they're used to being able to pretty much say whatever to girls and fuck with girls. And I feel like that nipple comment, like,
What was the comment? What was said about
you
nipples?
probably remember that.
Nipple girl,
Why were they called?
Nipsey.
That's what dudes do.
But what
To
happened?
You
the
make
point
little
where
jokes.
She put on a jacket.
Oh, her nipples were out.
They were out or
They're
whatever.
You can see it through a shirt.
And like, yeah, we look like, you see how we're like. I didn't come here for the jacket. I'm sit
That's
over
a fact.
here. You know what I mean? Like, this
But
is
like,
your thing.
no offense, but like, maybe like start off with a jacket on or something if your nipples are exposed.
I can see that too, but
And
at the
it's
end of the
and
day,
you're on
like,
camera and like low-key will get kicked off of YouTube.
We had to blur out Blueface's girl's nipples from a recent podcast at length.
oh yeah.
You know, so that's what I'm saying.
Shout out
So-
Rock.
I'm not saying maybe they shouldn't have dragged it out, but like also maybe like you gotta cover up your nipples.
No, but
if you don't want
the
to,
thing
like-
is, it started before. She started with the jacket on.
this
She
is-
put the jacket on. The
Wait,
jacket
this
was
is-
on the whole time.
Oh, so this is before it even
started,
started.
but yeah,
That's like
it
the
was,
first thing.
yeah. It was like, what's up, bitches, and then it was like, yeah, it was a lot of stuff that went on, a lot of bad energy from the jump. So
So okay, so this is before the podcast even started.
Yeah.
And they, like,
yeah,
they already had this weird nipple thing.
My favorite thing about that podcast, though, is just the fact that Yassy, to a certain extent, on the podcast has, not that you never opened up, but you know, at times we had said to you, you know, I feel like you're better when we're just talking to you in the office than you are on camera on the podcast, and I think that's what kind of has to happen for Yassy to really like get better and better on camera. She has to be more like her regular self, because when we're sitting in here talking, she's fine. She's like really, she's good. But then
I've never been on a podcast.
some of the early podcasts that we did, she was a little bit more like
Oh, we
in her
know
shell and
this.
stuff. I really
She was more
appreciate
quiet.
the fact that having OT and AD piss off your friend kind of forced you to defend yourself,
Yeah.
and like that really kind of made you have to show like who you actually were. You kind of find out what somebody's really about when
You really broke
somebody
the mold
puts
on
it
it.
back against the wall. You know?
Yeah, no, that's a fact. But you gotta think about it too. It's like not everyone's gonna be immediately comfortable and just like, what's the word? I don't know, just like
De-escalating.
No, just opening up everything about your life on camera. You know, like you can't expect everybody to just do that. And honestly, there's some times where I didn't say some shit here that was like too personal and then regretted it later. So I kind of understand why people are a little closed.
Shout
off
out my
on
boy
camera,
House
because
Phone
you
with the
don't fucking
Cisco.
Think about how everybody's about to be paying attention to it or like bringing up what you said.
And there's something about doing a podcast where, you know, if I was just like meeting a random girl for the first time and her nipples were totally showing, I probably would not say anything about it because I would just be like concerned that she would be offended. But then when you're on a podcast and you're making content, it's kind of like, well, if I'm supposed to be the funny slapstick crazy guy, maybe I should just draw attention to the thing that I'm thinking of, and the fans will appreciate the fact that I'm drawing attention to it. It's like you kind of judge yourself by a different standard when you are on camera than in your personal
That's
life.
a fact.
And I don't know if they were necessarily thinking about that. Also, they were drunk as hell, and you guys both weren't drunk, which really stood out to me as like
Fatal.
probably
oh, no,
a big part
I
of this.
really stopped drinking because it got to the point where I'm starting to get mad. Like that's why when the whole disrespect thing came up, it was like, no, I really could have gone crazy. Like I really could have gone crazy because I was really like I was mortified. I was like, there's no way. Like his foot's in the air. Like people like
Yeah.
Yeah,
like he's wasted. And then like Josh is asking if we should wrap it early, and I'm looking at AD like, nigga, let's wrap it up. Like let's put a bow on it. Come on, get it out of here.
OD falling out of the chair was definitely
You
a
know?
moment where I'm just like watching the TV, just jaw drop,
Yeah.
like what the
But
fuck
imagine
is
how I'm
Facts.
feeling. Like
I think I
sitting
tuned
right
in and you guys were
across.
just all laughing about something, and like I guess it was funny at first, but then like but both of them kept laughing so
Yes.
hard. I was just like, what is going on? This
Yeah,
podcast
then
is-
I look bitter because I'm not laughing, but at the end of the day, I'm like, no pun intended.
But when you spoke to AD after the fact and stuff, you seemed like you were kind of like unhappy with his attempts at resolving the conflict in general. Like you felt like he wasn't really like seeing your side of it.
No,
and-
he still doesn't.
No, I heard you guys on the second podcast from last week. And
Oh my fucking god! After this show last week, they were talking about it like when we finished, right? Me and this nigga went to go get food, come back, and they're still talking. It's like they never paused the combo.
Nope, never.
No, it was like you paused the convo from where we left and then resumed it when we got back.
And that's something I just had to come to
Neither
terms
one
with.
of
I said,
them
you
was
know
hearing
what?
it.
You're not gonna win when someone is fixated on you being wrong or stuck in their ways.
Or not even like being wrong, but just like I guess, or just make you understand his point.
No, but the thing is, there's so many times where I understood.
He didn't feel like it, I guess.
I just don't know if he thought I was gonna get up here and just completely like
Like
fold. Like I'm not.
Right, because it's like, from my perspective, there were definitely like things that I think were like wrong from both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say wrong, but it's like pretty clearly like, you know, if I was in his situation, I think I would very much be able to have a conversation with you like, you were definitely right in some ways and wrong in some ways, and I was definitely right in some ways and wrong in some ways, because I think that like, on one hand, it was just like a bad matching, but also it was just kind of
Win-win
like,
situation.
you know, it's like the thing that happens when like you are joking around with your friend and you assume that the other person is going to appreciate it, and then they don't appreciate it. It's like the joke, like joking around, sort of like depends on both people being consensual, and
Yeah,
you know.
for sure.
Joking around
She
is
just
like
wasn't
sex,
giving
it needs
that.
to be
She wasn't giving
consensual.
that energy though. Like she made it clear that she was uncomfortable.
Facts.
Like she put a jacket on. I thought it was just gonna stop there. Like the first time, all right.
She was looking for Yassy to save
I
her.
was like, okay, the first time you're just being dumb. Second time is like, all right. Third time is like niggas is dragging it.
Oh, so they just kept calling her like Nipsey.
Nipsey. And then that's another thing. She's like talking to, like we think it's funny because like we know.
Yeah.
But like you know what I'm saying?
If I was the girl in that situation, I guess I would.
Like I can take things because I'm just like whatever. Like I don't care.
For me, if I was gonna joke around with a girl about something like her nipples being showing through her shirt, it's like I have to really know her. I have to really, because
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
a lot of girls would be really offended by that. A lot of
Yeah.
girls would roll with the punches and think it was funny or whatever.
That gotta
You know?
be like I've known her for like years.
Yeah, you got to be already a joking
that's
thing.
what it came down to for me. It was just like, all right, let's
I
have a
felt
mutual respect for each other. You know, I don't know your friend.
But that's where it started. But then how did it start to escalate as far as
I
like?
genuinely believe that the hostility that was aimed towards me was really towards her. But she's more soft spoken and she's not really gonna.
She's not about to be.
She's not about to sit here. Like this is not her life. Like she's.
And that was the fascinating thing about it, is that you have you and you have AD, and you guys are at least partially invested in this being a good podcast. And then you had the complete polar opposites, where you had OT,
Facts.
who was drunk as hell, clearly not really like invested in the art of podcasting, as you could kind of tell when he was like laying on the ground with his shoe up in the air, and you know, give it to him, the guy's viral.
No, he's viral.
And then you have Gaia, who's on the completely opposite side of the spectrum, and then you have AD and you guys both feel extremely tied to the other person, and to a lesser extent tied to each other. And then you guys are acting as moderators between like a nun and like a drunk wrestler.
No, for real. That was a very good description.
It was just a fascinating exercise in podcasting.
It was a lot of energy, man.
A lot of
Too much energy.
I'm loud, but like that was crazy.
In all the times back in the day, and even in the Melrose story, we would just have a bunch of random girls on the podcast, whatever. I never really had a situation unfold that was that bizarre. And I mean, I've had a lot of weird situations. Like me and Lena did a podcast with a couple of random girls that we met on the street, and during the podcast, one of them started drinking, and she got so drunk that she went and had to puke in the bathroom. And then Lena went to the bathroom, and she was laying on the ground, passed out.
The Turn Up Twins?
Whatever the fuck their names were. Yeah, we you know, that was,
wow.
You know, that was like an example of a blooper from my perspective. The OT and AD and Yassy and Gaia thing was like a whole nother level. But I keep thinking about if she wasn't there and it was just you, what you would have done and how you would have handled the dynamic of that.
That probably would have not happened.
They're the bushwhackers.
It wouldn't have happened.
For my
I
wrestling
probably
fans.
would have walked off though at some point. I'm like the only
That'd
reason I
been
was there
crazy.
is because it's like, all right, like AD's like, chill, like no, we're not gonna end it. I'm like, okay, so maybe it's gonna get better. Like maybe you're gonna say something, and then it was like once the ship is sailed, this is a shit show.
At what mark did you feel like y'all should have ended it? Like at what time?
When Josh first had to speak.
How
When he muted us and the country song was playing.
Facts.
doing the show for them?
Everybody took the headphones off.
That's what
40 minutes
yeah.
you could have stopped.
Yeah, and then I said that to AD, and he was like, no, we're gonna keep it going. I'm like, all right.
Well, he wanted to go for like a fucking 2 hours.
I think he was having a blast.
Well, he wanted to get to his videos.
Yeah, he definitely did want to get to the videos.
Honestly, I love that. I love that. That's like very wholesome content. And when he said that last week, I had no idea what he's talking about, so I just let him brush over it. But now,
to be fair, like AD, I've seen him have to like really change in a lot of ways through doing the podcast and stuff. And like some of the things that he's had to kind of learn are things that you almost would think that you wouldn't have to tell most people. Like when we are doing the news and we're talking about 6ix9ine, you can't say, oh, like if it was me, I would have sprayed up his mama's house. Like, you know, that kind of thing that we had to like edit out. That kind of thing is like, you know, most people wouldn't need to be told that.
But why do you, I feel like No Jumper kind of embodies like the unorthodox style of things. So
killing informants. No, but there's a certain extent where like with Snapchat specifically, like YouTube might not be as tough about it with Snapchat in particular. Like you can't swear, you can't show weed, you can't say that 6ix9ine must die. I don't think, you know, like
I didn't know that.
It's just like, you know,
maybe you would have to tell me this.
Little things, and like I feel like there's like a real opportunity in that podcast for him to be able to remove himself from the scenario, observe the situation, and then gain some better understanding of who he is and what podcasting is and how he can be a better podcaster through that. I'm not 100% sure that he's all the way there from watching the follow-up episode, because it seemed like he kind of like, and I don't blame him at all. It's like it was hard to comprehend what this fucking dynamic was and exactly how it went left, and to be able to see both sides, because like I'm saying, like I'm very experienced in this, and it was shocking to me.
That was crazy.
So when you guys talked about this, y'all just never came to a conclusion together? Or y'all never like, y'all agreed to disagree and that was it?
I agreed to disagree.
That was it?
Might as well. That's how you get past it.
The question is just how it goes from there.
No, I'm chilling, honestly. I mean, like, at this point, it's like, it's beating a dead horse. Like, obviously, he's not gonna understand me in that situation. I understand where he's coming from. I just think that, like,
It could have been handled.
it could have been handled.
Differently.
Because, like, he's telling me, like, you don't know my homeboy. Yeah, nigga, you do, though. So, step in.
I think he should have probably exercised his ability to be a host more during the podcast. If he had tried to hold court more and say,
it's hard to do that.
Okay, like because that's the thing that you need to do.
And
you need to like have a bunch of people hooting and hollering.
Like it's hard to balance your homie and your
instill order and say
podcast at the same time when everybody got so much energy
going
on it.
And actually get people to take turns and get people to like really talk about stuff in a more intelligent way. It was kind of like he was really like just sort of like letting OT run wild, and there was no attempt to like rein him in, which I think needed to happen at that point. Like if it was going to be a coherent podcast, it was going to have to be a moment where AD kind of like talked over everybody, got everybody else to shut up.
It's hard to do that when everybody drunk.
Down. Okay, this is what we're talking about right now.
I mean, honestly, though, I don't even put so much blame on, like, OT for a lot of shit just because of the fact that I don't know when he found the time to get so drunk.
See what I'm saying?
When we even started, like, he was, like slurring in the beginning. So I was like, oh, this could only go one way. You know what I mean?
And y'all were still drinking as the podcast went on.
Yeah, they were still taking shots.
That was what I was saying. I was like, I think drinking on the podcast can be okay. I think getting shit-faced before the podcast is probably
I've never seen him do that. I've never seen him do that, so but I get it. Like, you're excited, your friend's here. Cool.
I've watched maybe 10 episodes of Drink Champs, and I don't think I've ever seen anything that drunk.
Well, those men are like 40 plus. They've been drinking since like forever.
Well, look at AD and OT. I mean, they're not 40, but they've been drinking like fucking crazy for many years.
Yeah, I don't know. They were not. Don Julio drank them that day. I don't know.
I'm just interested to see where it goes from there. I'm almost bummed you guys have a guest tomorrow. It might be better, but
no, I honestly want to start doing some episodes.
Nobody wants to hear y'all talk about this again. Like,
no, I'm honestly over it.
Y'all talked about it. It happened. We talked about it last week with AD. Y'all talked about it the next day after that together, and then now we just talked about it again.
No, yeah, honestly, my only thing like in bringing it up.
We let you get your point off though, with the No Jumper Show fans.
Oh. I didn't.
I just felt like now that I had watched it, because
a
I
little
was
house phone.
playing poker for like 16
I need some of them
hours
kicks
on Sunday, and I watched like the whole thing on stream, and like was reading the comments from people and whatnot, and that kind of made me have more thoughts on it. I almost felt bad that like Vlad asked me about it, and I hadn't really like seen the full thing in context. So there's that clip floating around.
I just want everybody to know that when we started the podcast, Adam looked me in the eye and said, Why did you bring your lingerie? He was talking about my do-rag.
I thought it was at first.
Innocent mistake.
Have you ever seen anybody put one of these on? Actually, Hesh put one of these on you. If someone has the picture of Adam wearing a do-rag, give it to me, please.
Google Adam22. There's a couple shots out there.
Should.
Yeah.
I hate that I have to like defend them.
Man, that's enough of that, man. I don't think they talk about that no more. I think it's over with. You know what I'm saying? Let me know how you feel about that, man. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and we out.